Inequality. Now, we have an inequality compares two values using the signs, you know, less than, right? Less than or equal to. Less than or equal to literally means at most or not more than, right? Those are the literal saying. We have greater than or equal to. These are all the four inequality signs, right? So greater than or equal to literally means at least, right? It means at least. Even though we solve in equations just the same as we solve linear equations, you need to know that when dividing or multiplying an inequality by a negative sign or with a negative sign, you have to invert the inequality sign. Let me show you an example. If we have negative b is less than 4. In this case, if we want to isolate b, we will divide both sides by a negative sign. And when we divide both sides by a negative sign, the inequality sign will change. So it will now be b is greater than negative 4. These are one of the things students miss during their TEAS exam. When you divide and you don't invert the inequality sign and you end up failing or taking the wrong answer, you have to always invert when you divide an inequality with a negative sign, right? Now let's look at question question 1. Solve for x the equation. So we have x plus 5 is greater than 12. So in this case, we subtract both sides by 5. And you see that x will be greater than 7. So let's draw a number line to represent this. Let's draw a number line to represent this data. So we have 0, we have 1, up to 7, right? Now, let me show you something. Less than, which, no, strictly less than is open, right? Less than or equal to is closed because the data at that point is included. Greater than is open. Greater than or equal to is closed because the data set at that point is included. X greater than 7 is a set 7 which is open to infinity, right? So open we represent it with a 0, right? With an open 0. And it is heading toward infinity. So the region that we satisfy the inequality is all of that regions. Those data set greater than 7. All the numbers greater than 7, right? Now, let's look at question 2. Solve the inequality 3x is less than or equal to 21. So in this case, we divide both sides by 3. And x is less than or equal to 7, right? Now, let's represent this using a number line. So from negative infinity to infinity. So from 1 up to 7. So you see now this point is close because 7 is included. So we represent it with a dot, close dot. So it is heading toward negative infinity. So all those numbers from 7 toward negative infinity satisfy the inequality. And if you want to represent it in a set, it will be close at 7 and heading toward negative infinity, right? That will be the set. All right. Let's look at question 3. So for x, the inequality, we have negative 2x is greater than 10. In this case, we divide both sides by negative. Remember, when you divide an inequality with a negative sign, the inequality sign will invert, right? So we are dividing both sides by negative 2. And x here will instead be less than, right? Will instead be less than negative 5. Are you seeing that? If you want to represent this on a number line, from negative infinity to positive infinity. So you see that we have -1 down to -5. So you see that it's open because -5 is not included in the data set. So it is heading toward negative infinity. So that region will satisfy an inequality. And the set will be, the data set will be from negative infinity like that, all open. It's open, right? Question 4. So we have that. We have 4x minus 7 is less than or equal to 9. So in this case, we add 7 to both sides. We add 7 to both sides, and we will be left with 4x is less than or equal to, so 16. And we divide both sides by 4. X will be less than or equal to 4, right? Now, if you want to represent this on a number line, we have 0. We have 4 somewhere there. We know that it's close. So, toward what? Toward negative infinity, the data set would be close at 4 and heading toward negative infinity, right? So, that will be the data set there. Question 5 is, a supply room needs no more than 90 gloves. Let G represent the number of gloves used. Which inequality represent this situation? So they said that a supply room needs no more than, remember, no more than in mathematics means what? Less than or equal to. So this is just gonna be G less than or equal to 90. G less than or equal to 90. So the answer will just be A there, right? G less than or equal to 90 would be the answer. So you need to understand this literal saying, right? No more than is less than or equal to. At most is less than or equal to. At least is greater than or equal to, right? So you need to understand all of that. So let's look at question 6. A patient must receive at least 1,200 milliliters of IV fluid. Let M represent the total number of milliliters given. Which inequality matches this statement? So remember, at least mean what? Greater than or equal to. So this is just gonna be what? M is greater than or equal to 1,200. So that is very easy, right? Very easy. So so the answer is gonna be what? It's gonna be A. Right? A clinic can use no more than 84 masks in a day. No more than. You already know what it is, right? No more than is less than or equal to. Each box contains 12 marks. Let X represent the number of boxes. Which inequality should be used? So we have 12 times the number of boxes will be less than or equal to 84, right? So the answer would be A there, because each box contains 12 marks, right? So if you want to know the number of boxes that represent 84 marks, it will be 12 times X is equal to 84. Means we are dividing 84 by 12 to know what the number of boxes are, right? Yep, perfect. Now solve question 8 and leave the answer in the comment section. Solve question 8 and leave the answer in the comment section.